When was the last time you actually looked at that goal that you set in January? Well, let's check in on how those goals are going so far this year and get you back on track to accomplish them. Welcome, new and returning Money Buddies. I'm your host, Skylar Fleming, and I wanted to do a goal episode a few months into the new year for one main reason. It's very likely that most of our goals have faded out by now, and if you're still going strong, then congrats. You should celebrate that. But for most of us, there are a few things that we wish we would have accomplished and a few goals that are on the fritz and may look like they won't happen. So let's do what we can with today's episode to get them back on track. Because getting your goals back on track and understanding some better goal setting strategies, that's one of the main objectives today. I have some great resources and some great research lined up for you to help you feel okay about your current state of goals and understand why they might be struggling and help you set some effective goals and know how to really connect with and the one secret to actually accomplishing your goals and giving yourself a 95% likelihood of actually achieving it. Doesn't that sound fantastic? But I've talked to countless guests on my old podcast, Money Talk, about goal setting, and there are so many different ways to tackle this topic. But I'm very excited to bring you my extensive research and knowledge in this area. This is going to be a fun conversation to get you motivated and back in the right direction. So let's get into this episode and get those goals back on track. How do you know when it's time to not really go for a goal? Or how do you understand if a goal is really actually important to you? I have a few key questions lined up for you that I'm going to share at the end of today's episode that's going to help you know whether a goal is worthwhile or not. But first, we got to get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode. The real problem and the real issue with all this is that we set goals and don't achieve them. That can be hard. It can be an emotional drain. It can be a stressor on us. So let's start off this episode with some great background psychology behind resolutions and how we can actually make meaningful life changes. This first quote from an article titled "An ODU Professor Breaks Down Psychology Behind New Year's Resolutions and Meaningful Life Change." This first quote says, "Set resolutions that support the life that you want, not the one that you think you should be living." My key takeaway from this is don't let peer pressure and this idea of the perfect or ideal life or the American dream get in your way. Comparison and trying to compare our situation to everyone else's, that's the thief of joy, and that's a 100% fact. So don't let other people's ideals influence the way that you think you should be living, especially when it comes to your goals. Don't let some American dream style goal or that goal that everyone is telling you they wish they could accomplish and you should try to accomplish it. Don't stress so hard about it and try to stay away from those big, broad, everybody's included goals because they may not be the best thing for your situation. In episode 17, where Dana and I talked about how money is harder for young adults, we talked a lot about making sure to set goals that are really your own. And one of the main things that makes money harder for young adults is this perfect ideal of all these goals we have to be chasing. So really take a step back and make sure your goals are truly yours. But this next quote here says, "Habit change is hard. Focus on the process, not just the outcome." You're going to hear this thread throughout the rest of today's episode. I love this idea. And the next article we're going to talk about is going to hit heavy on this idea of focusing on the process. If we're solely focused on the outcome, it can be hard to have any idea on what we should do or if we're doing the right things for our goals. And so now that we understand why our brain struggles with goals in the first place, let's talk about what we can actually do about it. And I want to give you a framework that puts you back in control. This next article that I'm going to be talking about and quoting is titled, "Why Your 2026 Goals Are Already Failing." This first quote says, "Stop chasing results goals." It says the trap is setting a goal like save $10,000 because you can't just magically save $10,000. And the fix that it suggests is set goals within your control, like save $500 per paycheck or set aside $50 every time I go to the store. And the logic here is that you control your actions. So focus your work on what you can actually influence. Your goals should be focused on action, not necessarily the giant end target. And of course, it's good to have that in mind, but if you're having a hard time staying motivated with your goals, moving the actual goal that you're chasing a step back to your tactics can be a great way to stay on track. And you've likely heard of SMART goals, and I have long been an advocate of SMART goals, But this article brought to my attention a brand new framework, the WOOP framework, or the WOOP framework. The article goes on to talk about this, saying while many use the SMART framework, the WOOP method is often more effective for handling real-world friction. The W stands for wish, which means to identify a goal that truly excites you. The first O is outcome, detail exactly what you want success to look like and how it feels. The second O is obstacle, be honest about what will hinder you. An example would be like, it's so easy for me to transfer money to my checking and then just spend it. The P stands for plan. Create a specific if-then strategy to overcome those obstacles. So there you have it. There's the WOOP method. I hope that helps you begin to outline your wish, outcome, the obstacle that might be in the way, and create a plan. But the next thing that I want to talk about, this one is awesome. It can be hard when we get into this mindset of comparing or feeling like we have to share our entire lives with people through social media. So this next idea I think is absolutely awesome. It says silence is a superpower. Keep your goals in a private note and only share them with a trusted accountability partner. Instead of always sharing everything on social media and then not getting the attention that you want, stick to yourself and keep a trusted partner on your side. And we're going to talk more about accountability partners here in just a second. But first, we're going to talk about why goals fail, and I'm going to give you a framework for effective goal setting. This next article is titled Effective Goal Setting for the New Year and includes a 4-step framework. The 4 main problems you might have with goal setting include the following from the article. 1, they're vague. 2, they're disconnected from a purpose. 3, they ignore reality and constraints. And 4, they lack structure and accountability. The next 2 articles I'm going to talk about are going to address that disconnection from a purpose and the accountability aspects of our goals. But how do we focus on the other 2? How do we make sure they're not vague and they're actually realistic? Well, a vague goal can be things like be more confident, find more balance, communicate more clearly. They don't have specificity and progress is hard to measure, and these goals are easy to abandon and just jump ship. Unrealistic goals may not account for real constraints like juggling your family, work, and social responsibilities. And then you go and try to set a goal to say, I want to work out 5 days a week for 2 hours and I have to drive 30 minutes to the gym. That's why unrealistic goals can be so easy to abandon as well. So now that we have our mind going around why our goals might be ineffective, how do you reset going forward and set effective goals? Well, here's the 4-step framework. 1, reflect on the last year or the last quarter if your goals are getting a little shaky. 2, apply what you've learned. 3, create a vision. And 4, set intentions and goals. So now that your goals have had a reset, you've thought about why they may be struggling, and now you understand how to create more effective goals going forward, take that motivation you're feeling right now, and let's move into the most important step of sticking with it. The next article is titled The Power of Accountability. The main quote that I love so much from this article is some stats. The article says that researchers have found that individuals have the following probabilities of completing a goal with the following actions. If you have an idea or a goal, you're 10% likely to complete it. If you're consciously deciding that you'll do it, 25%. Deciding that you'll do it is 40%. Planning how to accomplish the goal takes you up to 50%. Committing to someone else that you'll do the goal takes you all the way up to 65% of a likelihood of achieving your goal. But here is the real kicker. Having a specific accountability appointment with someone that you've committed to takes your goal all the way up to 95%. Think about that. 65 to 95% likelihood of achieving your goal just by involving someone. That's like magic. So what do you do if you really want to accomplish something? Well, you do the thing that's going to take it up to a 95% chance of it happening. It's amazing. And this would be a great chance for us to work together. If you're looking for someone to help keep you accountable, send me an email and let me know what goal you want to have happen. That takes your chances up to 65%. And then if we want to have a regular meeting, that boosts your goal up to 95% likelihood. How awesome is that? So reach out to a friend, share this episode. You can both achieve your goals and have a 95% chance. That is so amazing. But there's still one thing that's really going to help you nail your goal setting. And that is this next article titled The Importance of Your Why. So I'm going to mention 2 episodes here. Episode 1, we talked about crafting your financial why. That's a good one that's going to give you a deeper dive into that topic. And then episode 22, the one question that will change how you handle your money. That one's going to give you an even better outline to one specific question that's going to change your goal setting when it comes to money. The main quote that I like from this article says, the why of your resolution is important for a number of reasons. The main one is that it gives you a better understanding of yourself. So please ask yourself, why is money important to me? Why do I want to achieve this goal? Here are 3 ways that you can think about your why that may help you when you start crafting your own financial purpose statement or whatever it may be. So here's 3 examples. First one is a weak why sounds like I want to save money. A strong why sounds like I want to stop lying awake at night stressing about my credit card balance. One of those 2 is going to keep you motivated as you move into month 4, 5, and 6 of your goals. The next example is your why is basically your financial GPS. Without it, you're just driving around and hoping you end up somewhere good. But with that why, every decision you make has a direction behind it. And the last example is think about the last time you actually stuck to something hard. I bet there was a really clear reason behind it. That's what your why is. It's a reason that makes the sacrifice feel worth it. And wow, did we just cover a lot of great stuff about adjusting your goals going forward, because guess what? Not achieving your goals or not being on track is okay. That's how you learn. And we're going to learn exactly how you can move forward in this next case study about Caleb, who isn't quite on track with his big, broad, vague goal. So we're going to help him fine tune it. So make sure you stay tuned and let's get into Caleb's case study next. All right, let's outline Caleb's situation for you real quick here, and then we can get into adjusting and adapting his goals. So Caleb is a 27-year-old project coordinator living in Scottsdale, Arizona. He's earning about $72,000 a year, and he's still carrying about $18,500 in student loans and has about $3,200 in a credit card balance. He's been making minimum payments for the past few years, but he feels like he needs to get more aggressive, and he's felt that sense of urgency just recently. So at the beginning of 2026, Caleb set what he felt like was a solid New Year's goal of, I want to pay off my debt this year. He wrote it in a notes app, he felt motivated, and he told himself that this was finally the year. The problem is that's where the goal ended. There was no timeline, no specific numbers, no plan, just a feeling that he could do it, which is great. You still have a chance of accomplishing it, but now here we are, mid-February. Caleb hasn't changed anything about his monthly spending or his payment habits. He's still making minimum payments, still eating out more than he'd like to admit, like the rest of us. And when he sat down to look at his accounts this weekend, he felt that heavy wave of discouragement. And at his current pace, there is no way he'd be able to pay off the remainder by December. So he's starting to wonder if he should just give up and try again next year. Newsflash, he might have to slow down a little bit, but he doesn't have to completely give up. So here's some more details about Caleb's situation. His monthly take-home pay, it's around $4,700 after taxes and his 401k. His fixed expenses are about $2,900 a month, and he has about $1,800 a month in flexible spending, most of which he says has been disappearing without much intention behind it. So let's get into what Caleb can actually do here and help him set a realistic goal going forward that he's actually going to be able to stick to. So to start us out here, what do you think the issue is with Caleb's goal? Say it out loud here real quick before I say it. It's too vague. It's broad, and while it's good, what does pay off my debt really entail? Obviously, we know the end goal. It's obvious that he wants to pay off all the debt, but is it even feasible? Would the math even work right now with his monthly payment? He said he had about $1,800 available for extra spending. Would that even pay off his loans? Let's run some math. His loan balance of $18,500 is going to take at least $1,850 to pay it off in the next 10 months before the end of 2026. And while Caleb didn't provide how much his minimum loan payment is, this is going to be cutting it close. And his credit card would take $320 more per month. So his goal right now is going to cut it very close to using all of his flexible spending, which is probably going to happen. And then he's not going to be able to do anything else. This probably isn't going to be a very enjoyable goal to chase down at this point. He's not going to be able to spend money on anything other than his fixed costs and his student loans. So what now? This is where that wave of discouragement can hit us. But let's restart from square one with this goal, because Caleb's probably feeling a mix of frustration and embarrassment, like so many of us have also felt, because when you get to that point where you realize the goal might not be attainable, it sucks, but it's completely normal. It's okay. The goal wasn't bad. It just needs some work. And so now that we know it's not perfectly realistic, let's set some realistic expectations around it. And you can do this with your goals too. When you get to that point where you realize it might be getting away from you, take a deep breath, pause, and reset your goal expectations. For Caleb, let's start looking at a 16-month window. If he were to spread out his loan payments over 16 months, then his monthly payment, in order to pay them off, goes down to roughly $1,350. This gives him some breathing room and takes some of that stress off of his shoulders and gives him a specific timeline. He's then able to continue using his flexible spending, and he still pays off the loans by June 2027, and that's okay, because now we can be realistic from this point and not put undue pressure on ourselves to meet an unrealistic goal. So how does Caleb craft these goals that he can actually follow instead of just this big, broad, I want to pay off all my debt? Well, he should set his goals around the dollar amounts that he needs to pay every single month. Because how much more exciting is it to accomplish your goal every single month? So now instead of having to wait and just hope that you hit that big, broad, I want to pay off all my debt goal, you can make sure you're on track with goals that hit a lot closer to home and that are a lot closer to your actual actions. So now that the goals have been aligned and they're made to be more realistic, Caleb is going to be pumped, and so are you, because now each and every month he can look and say that he met his goal of $1,150 to his student loans and $200 to his credit card. So as long as he sticks to that, he knows he's on track. And now if Caleb had an accountability partner checking in on him every single month, remember his chances of actually hitting this goal jump to 95%. And so the math is already working in his favor because it's realistic. He still has some wiggle room to add even more money. And imagine adding more money on top of his goal, because it's nice now to know that you have a goal that's aligned with your actions. And now imagine adding on top of that goal. That's what's so nice about creating these realistic goals that are aligned with our actions, is you know you're on the right path. You don't have to worry and just hope that you're going to hit the mark. You're hitting the mark every single month and accomplishing goals along the entire journey. And the main thing that we take away from Caleb's story here is be realistic and set goals in line with your actual actions that you can actually do. If your goal's so far out there and you don't even have a pulse on it, it's just going to fade away and you're never going to worry about it. And then you'll get disappointed and frustrated with yourself. And that's not fun. So please stay upbeat and motivated. Make your goal the next action that you need to take for your main overarching goal. And the best thing that you can do here now to get some quick wins and some motivation is, what do you do with the extra each month? You can speed up the goal, because like in Caleb's situation or in yours, you might be able to contribute some more when possible. And you know you're going to hit your main goal, but now you know you're going to hit it a whole lot sooner. And in Caleb's instance, maybe one month he can put all of his flexible spending towards his loans. That's going to speed him up a lot. He's going to slowly be able to take a month or 2 or 3 off of that goal and just scoot it up even sooner. And you can do that too with whatever goal you're trying to set. That's what's so awesome about setting a realistic, action-based goal, is that you can speed it up and stay right on track and stay motivated. I hope this episode got you as fired up and pumped up about goal setting and taking action on our goals as it did me. We're going to wrap it all up next, and I got a great one and only action item for you to take away from today's episode. The one action item from today is to identify just one goal that needs adjusting, and then use today's episode to evaluate it and adjust. But I did promise to let you know how you can figure out when it's time to let go of a goal, or how to understand if a goal is actually important to you. I have a few questions lined up for you today that's going to help you understand whether it's worthwhile or not. And I'm going to cover that in just 1 second. But first, I need you to share this episode with a friend. My other podcast, Money Talk, just came to an end, so my focus is 100% on growing this show and making it the best resource for young adults. So share this episode with a friend so they can tackle their goals and get them on track as well. And if you want to increase your chances of accomplishing your goal, tell them your goal that you're working on from this episode and set a regular meeting to touch base and get that math working in your favor. But now let's touch on how you can know if a goal is worthwhile or not. This comes from the article that we referenced earlier titled The Importance of Your Why. Here's some tips about finding your why. The quote says, "Write down the reasons the particular target is important for you." Here's the key. If you struggle, chances are this goal is not a true fit and it's going to be difficult to achieve. Next, jot down how you'll feel or what you'll gain from achieving the goal. And then finally, ask yourself if reaching this milestone will make you happy. You're going to learn a lot from those questions. They are fantastic. It's going to help you understand if a goal is worth it or not. That's going to be the final thing here that we wrap up this whole episode with. But if you want to increase your likelihood of accomplishing your goal to 95%, let's schedule a meeting and start working together. I'd love to help you accomplish your goals, especially those financial ones. But guess what? Money touches everything in our life, whether it's estate planning or you want to build an early retirement plan or whatever it might be that's in your mind right now. Let's have a chat, a quick 30-minute phone call about your situation and figure out which goals need tightening up and adjusted. So send me an email mentioning goal setting and we'll set up a time to meet. My email is at the bottom of the description or the show notes, or you can send me an email to fpyapod@gmail.com. But next week, we're talking about what to do when everything around you feels like it's just pulling money out of your wallet and you feel like your finances are completely out of control. We're going to walk through some mental resets and practical strategies to help you regain control and feel like yourself again financially. You're not going to want to miss it. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Financial Planning for Young Adults. I'm your host, Skylar Fleming. Have a great week. And hey, quick heads up. This podcast, it's meant to be educational and it's for entertainment purposes. It's not personalized financial advice for your specific situation. So before you go out and make any big money moves, make sure you chat with a qualified financial professional who knows your full financial picture.